After years of requests, you're about to get the first in-depth tour of this little-known place called the Brevard Zoo, located in Melbourne, Florida. Of the 6 sections to choose from, I went with the park's newest big thing. In 2019, they unveiled the Rainforest Revealed, a renovation and expansion of the already existing La Selva exhibit, or also known as the Jungle. Even with all of the changes, the focus remained on the 50 birds, reptiles, primates, and more that represent the tropics of Latin America. Before we get started, we would really appreciate it if you press those like and subscribe buttons to officially join this zoo crew if you haven't already. And then I would like all of the picture takers out there to share with us from experience what is the toughest animal to photograph. Your very first stop in the most diverse Central and South American exhibit I have ever seen is the Rainforest Orientation Center, featuring a glass casing that shows tools that researchers use to study animals in the wild. Rainforest Revealed begins a lot like the adjacent Wild Florida exhibit, with a boardwalk and a giant crocodilian. While Florida puts you in between gators and American crocs, the rainforest is a little less intimidating, placing you in between the crocs, and as far as the zoo's collection goes, nothing. But on the right side of the boardwalk, we did see a wild moorhen. As soon as you get yourself out of that sticky situation, you'll find yourself in a scaly situation. If the Venom House didn't have glass, it could literally be raining snakes. These are 2 side-by-side enclosures that make for one very interesting experience. If you look straight out, there's a venomous eyelash viper. Look down, and there's poisonous frogs. But the theme around this rainforest is to always look up. The animals on the right side, like this tiger rat snake, have access to a canopy that goes right over your head. Our next tree-dwelling friend seems to have come down with a case of mistaken identity, because the sign says this white-throated capuchin is supposed to be a coati. But this mistake can easily be explained if, again, you just look up. Thanks to these skywalks, nearly every species that you're about to see from this point has access to multiple spaces and can be a part of some rotation that can be different every time you come visit the zoo. So just in case you think, well, that doesn't seem like a lot of living room, the animals most likely have access to 2 and sometimes 3 different enclosures. And the skywalk isn't just limited to primates, but also involves one of the most famous, one of the most spotted South American predators of all, the cheetah from Africa. This was designed for something similar. And Pepper did have a home in Expedition Africa, but this one better fits her retirement needs. And yes, there is a sign that explains this, along with a graphic on how you can tell a cheetah apart from a jaguar. Or you can just walk like 10 feet and see all of the differences for yourself. Now, I'm not one to excuse geographical mix-ups under any circumstances. Not like the zoo cares what I think anyways. But this is kind of cool because you won't get a lot of opportunities to see a jaguar and a cheetah virtually side by side. Next up is quite the cute combo. There's more monkeys. You got male and female white-faced Sakis. You can tell which one's which because the male was obviously asked to give the back scratches. Bolivian gray Titi monkeys. They bond by intertwining one another's tails. They didn't demonstrate that for us, but I'm glad at least they showed us how they can get from one of their homes to the next. With all this rotating going around, once in a while it might seem like no one's home, but part of the fun is going out to find them somewhere else. So just wait. I love Central and South American attractions. I'm glad more and more are being made, but a lot of them are still missing big birds, like black vultures and red-tailed hawks. Both famously native to Florida and not so famously from, but are still in Latin America. Now, I'm joking when I say this because this is a wonderful enclosure, but sometimes you can give a sloth, and in this case a skunk, too much space because you run the risk of them never being visible. And that's exactly what happened. But I'll take an active Brazilian porcupine as a win. Back to the birds. I must have been so excited I forgot to film the habitat. But ladies and gents, Zoo Tours has its first king vultures. Their kingly size and kingly beauty are dead giveaways on how they bestowed upon their royal name. Actually, the #1 theory suggests that king came from a Mayan legend that believed this vulture to be a messenger between humans and the gods. Speaking of the heavens, if you think it's unfair that these primates get to have all the fun in the sky while you get to watch them from the ground with the rest of these loud bipedal primates, then you're absolutely in the right. And that's why the zoo built the Treetop Observation Station, an elevated walkway, hey Johnny, that keeps you around this part of the exhibit. You're just higher off the ground. The Brevard Zoo has more adventure courses than any other zoo I've been to. There's kayaking, ziplining, but the Rainforest Revealed has the Canopy Walk, a $25 per person self-guided tour that gives you a monkey's eye view of half of the Rainforest Revealed. If you're not open for it, this observation station does bring you really close to at least one animal, a troop of 10 endangered black-handed spider monkeys, which were clearly the stars of the rainforest. Not only did they put on quite a show, there's a bio for every monkey. You got their names, ways you can identify each one, and hey, look, there's even Ben Stiller. Black-handed or Central American spider monkeys are one of the largest monkeys of the New World. Their arms are 25% longer than their legs, and their prehensile tail is used as a fifth limb and can support the monkey's entire body weight. And you couldn't ask for a better primate to demonstrate this tunnel system. Overhead walkways have been a continuous trend in the States for nearly 15 years, but I much prefer Brevard's because more than half the time I see this system in other parks, the animals only have access to 2 spaces max. Here, the spider monkeys could travel through 4 areas over 2 guest paths. You got to know a little about one of the largest monkeys of the New World. Now it's time to meet one of the smallest, with double the surprise. Just 2 weeks before this was filmed, cotton-top Tamarin Luna gave birth to not 1 but 2 babies. While twins are seen as a rare event for a lot of mammals, turns out it's actually quite common for these Einstein monkeys. But even so, that's still quite the handful, because the babies are carried for the first 3 months of their lives. Fortunately, both mom, dad, and the rest of the group are there to help out. And the monkeying around does not end there. Rainforest Revealed is also home to the more common squirrel monkey. A little further down, in 2 connected enclosures, you'll find white-nosed coatis, a relative of the raccoon. So, not a monkey, but you can say they could act like one if they wanted to. They spend a lot of time foraging on the ground, but evolved to develop a long, flexible tail for balance, and strong claws and double-jointed ankles for climbing trees, and they can rotate them a full 180 degrees just in case they need to climb down head first. There was another mixed species enclosure, but all we were able to find were golden-headed lion tamarins, and you just saw that the spider monkeys had more than 2 places to go. And this reveals that the tunnels give their jaguars at least 3, if you count Pepper's exhibit. From my understanding, minus the overhead trails, most of what we just saw was built in 1994, but the rest was built for its rebranding. And the rebranding brought in new species, like the giant otters that start the River's Edge Trail. At 6 feet, they're not just the longest otter, but the longest creature in their entire family. To celebrate this new and improved Rainforest Revealed, Brevard received a pair from the Los Angeles Zoo, which we covered on the channel years back. Other than being able to get so close to otters, one of the best things about this habitat is they can see right into the next one. This river of water wolves was designed to blend in with a river of giants. I hear that it's supposed to have a caiman, but I didn't see a sign. But we did see catfish, Pacu, river rays, and the mighty Arapaima. What the zoo refers to as the heart of this rainforest is 4,000 square feet and a sanctuary for 13 species. That's not the most South American animals I've seen living together, but it's certainly the most diverse I've ever come across in terms of animal types. Mammals like capybaras to guard the ground, and black howler monkeys in the canopy. There's 10 different kinds of birds like ibises, very welcoming ducks, and 3 beautiful species of macaws. And the best part is that all of them were able to fly. At first, I thought this was the perfect end to a really fun exhibit, but there's just one more stop. One of the zoo's blogs mentions there was supposed to be some sort of drawbridge that can connect that exhibit with even more guinea bigs, and the Baird's tapir, an ancient relative of the rhino, horse, and more. I'm no stranger to the tapir, but I've never had the privilege of being in the urine splash zone. Their spray distance is 7 to 10 feet, so watch out. In Rainforest Revealed, they have access to 2 enclosures, one of them that used to display a giant anteater, but there's an even better third one in the Wild Florida exhibit. Why Florida? They probably just wanted to find space for all of the tapirs they have, but it sort of makes sense because now extinct tapirs did live in this region millions of years ago. And that is where this loop comes full circle and concludes our first in-depth walkthrough of Florida's Brevard Zoo. The Rainforest Revealed may not be the most flashy South American attraction when it comes to naturalism, but it certainly does a phenomenal job encouraging natural behaviors and letting animals explore multiple spaces at once. Even though it's considered the zoo's peak, I cannot wait for our next adventure in one of America's most underrated zoos. So until next time, please stay tuned, stay wild, and thank you all for watching Zoo Tours.